Hi, I'm Luke Peterson, and I'm the game designer for the Miskatonic School for Girls, and that's this right here.
Ooh, nice.
What do you want to know?
I guess I want to hear a little bit about how it came to be. I know I saw it on Kickstarter, and I just want to hear about.
Actually, a pretty fun story. I was at the Gamma Trade show about a year and a half ago with a bunch of other game designers who were talking about deck building games, and they were all saying that they felt that most of the cool things in a deck building game had already been done. And without even thinking, I just said, what about a deck building game where you build your opponent's deck? And the whole table got really quiet, and then I went, I need to make that game. So I decided to make a game sort of backwards. I had a mechanic in mind, and I wanted to drive that mechanic and see where it led me, as opposed to try to shoehorn in a concept into something else.
Interesting.
So what you end up with when you do that is a game that is sort of the exact opposite of some really great deck building games that I love, like like Dominion and Ascension and Thunderstone. Those games are games about optimization. They're games where you try to make the best you can, and then the game ends and you see who wins. Because in this game, you don't have full control over your deck. You only have about half control over your deck. It's a game about watching your deck essentially get worse and worse and try to lose at a slower pace than your friends. So even though it's a deck building game, along the lines of those, if you play a deck building game, you'll recognize features of those other games. It's probably closer thematically to a Munchkin game for its fun quotient as opposed to its mapping. So I like to tell people that right up front when I can, because I know if you're a Dominion player, especially if you came from Magic to Dominion, and you buy this game thinking, here's another one of those games, it will probably let you down. But if you're someone who just wants to have a story game, or you want to play a game with maybe your 10 or 11-year-old daughter in particular, or a girlfriend, this is a great way to bring people into deck building who've never played Magic. So it's like a way to go to deck building the opposite direction of how most people go.
Very cool. So you said there, I'm not totally privy to this drama, but you said there was some drama with the Board Game Geek community.
Oh, well, it's hysterically funny. So
I'd love to hear about that.
Okay, so I don't like to post on threads about my own games. I just don't think that's like appropriate. I don't want to come across as defensive. You put a game out here like we do, and you just accept whatever people think of it. That's the deal, right? Our job is done. It's their job to tell people what they think. That's great. But somebody on one of the forums said the game was misogynistic. Because we do have a game with schoolgirls and tentacles, and in the age of the internet, that probably means something that this game doesn't do, right? The girls in this game are as far from misogynist. They are not chainsaw sexy shooter girl right at all. They're all good kids. They just have great hobbies. They're all ethnicities. Now the third years have been in school a long time, so they're starting to show some mutations, but they're like guilds. Right? Not like overly sized female parts. It's not what this game is about. Right. So I was getting all fired up at this. So we tried very hard to keep the game a game you could play, particularly in a family with a girl, and see people, because most girls don't have good girl role models in games. Right. So we really wanted to keep that there, and I was just about to go fire off a post, which I would never want to do. And then a bunch of other game people came in on the forum and just said, this guy's crazy. And I'm like, thank you, community. Right, it was awesome. So
That's awesome.
I just wanted everyone to know that when it comes to schoolgirl games, there are two types now.
Awesome. So this isn't Tante Kure or whatever that made or whatever.
Is not that. This is a lighthearted look, being respectful, and even though the kids are kids in a private school like this are very wealthy, we don't do any like rich girl, poor girl stuff. It's just they're just good kids.
So tell me a little bit about, you talked about this internet forum. Can you tell me about your new game that you're?
Oh yes, very exciting.
Can you talk about it yet? Or are you waiting for?
No,
okay.
No, so after we did this game, now everybody at Fun to 11, which is the company that made this, we all have day jobs, right? I design games I designed Bakugan, and I designed the new Matsuno game, right? So I do work for toy companies, as is my employee. The graphic designer is an old friend of mine who did a lot of game stuff early and now does high-end corporate work. But we wanted to remember why we got our jobs, so we made this game. And we had such a blast. But I know that most game designers, I've been doing this for like 15 years, have that like a game somewhere in their back pocket that never got published. And it's the kind of game they might break out at a con with other game designers or folks hanging out in a bar, usually a bar. And they're fun, and they're neat little tight games. So I just put the word out. I said, what do you got? and I got back a bunch of great submissions. And so the next game we're going to make is a game called Flame War. That's very good. And Flame War is a game about moderating internet forums. And it's a game designed by Andy Chambers, who designed like Warhammer 40k Second Edition. Right, he was the lead game designer for Games Workshop essentially for a decade or so, and then he was the creative director for StarCraft 2.
Okay.
Right? But yet, even he, as a game designer, has that little pocket card game that he carries around with him and plays and ran with hand-drawn animations, right?
Right.
So we loved it. We loved it right away. We loved it for its tightness and it's it's all in the box and you're done, right? This isn't going to be a 30 expansion game. This is a fun experience, and I want other people to play those kind of games. And what Kickstarter is so good at is doing that. Right? We don't have to find a publisher. We're just going to make it and sell it to people who want to buy it. And to me, the coolest part about the Kickstarter campaign is all the flavor text in the game looks like internet posts. So it has an avatar and it has a screen name and has a post to somebody. If you fund us at a certain level, that avatar gets to be you. So you can flame your friends in my game, and everybody will see it in all the copies that get printed of the first edition. So if you want to call out your friend the Brony, or say that's what she said, and then say, and by she I mean, Dave's mom, that will be in our game, and you'll be famous.
So you said Miskatonic School for Girls has been licensed for iOS already,
Yes,
is that correct?
we have the licensor, Wolven Studios. Wow, that's breaking news. We haven't announced it anywhere. That's good. I should probably tell them.
Is it? It's all signed and sealed away?
Oh yeah, we're signed on. In fact, I've already seen functioning. I'm stunned how fast they got something up and running with rules correct. It's awesome. These guys are super happy. So we also have an Italian and German and Spanish version that's coming out, and those will all be available in the iOS version. We're going to make sure that everybody gets all the languages. This was not meant as a product by us to start some great new big game company. We just want to make games we want to make.
Right.
And so we're just loving it. I mean, it's just fun.
Great.
And I'm not sure when the iOS game's coming out. I mean, I think they're not going to say yes and we're not going to disapprove it until it's done.
Right.
But mechanically, like, not the graphics, but behind the scenes stuff, it's looking good. And I love those games. And I'll give a shout out to Justin Gary, the guy that did the Ascension game. His iOS game is looking awesome. It's just great. So that's the high bar that we're going to try to hit for production value. That is a great game.
Great. I think that's all my questions. I think we covered pretty much everything.
All right.
Great.